Chapter 19, Part 2 of the Memoirs of Jacques Casanova, Volume 2. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Joelle Peebles. The Memoirs of Jacques Casanova, Volume 2. Paris in Prison, by Giacomo Casanova. Translated by Arthur Machen. Episode 8, Convent Affairs. Chapter 19, Part 2. A ball at the convent. My exploits in the character of Pierrot. C C comes to the casino instead of M M. I spend the night with her in a very silly way. I went at once to the convent. The parlour was full, but thanks to my costume of Pierrot, which was seen in Venice but very seldom, everybody made room for me. I walked on, assuming the gait of a booby, the true characteristic of my costume, and I stopped near the dancers. After I had examined the pantaloons, punches, harlequins, and merry andrews, I went near the grating where I saw all the nuns and boarders, some seated, some standing, and without appearing to notice any of them in particular, I remarked my two friends together and very intent upon the dancers. I then walked round the room, eyeing everybody from head to foot, and calling the general attention upon myself. I chose for my partner in the minuet a very pretty girl, dressed as a columbine, and I took her hand in so awkward a manner and with such an air of stupidity that everybody laughed and made room for us. My partner danced very well according to her costume, and I kept my character with such perfection that the laughter was general. After the minuet I danced 12 forlanas with the greatest vigour. Out of breath, I threw myself on a sofa, pretending to go to sleep, and the moment I began to snore everybody respected the slumbers of Pierrot. The quadrille lasted 1 hour, and I took no part in it, but immediately after it a harlequin approached me with the impertinence which belongs to his costume, and flogged me with his wand. It is harlequin's weapon. In my quality of Pierrot I had no weapons. I seized him round the waist and carried him round the parlour, running all the time, while he kept on flogging me. I then put him down. Adroitly snatching his wand out of his hand, I lifted his columbine on my shoulders and pursued him, striking him with the wand, to the great delight and mirth of the company. The columbine was screaming because she was afraid of my tumbling down and of shewing her centre of gravity to everybody in the fall. She had good reason to fear, for suddenly a foolish merry andrew came behind me, tripped me up, and down I tumbled. Everybody hooted Master Punch. I quickly picked myself up, and rather vexed, I began a regular fight with the insolent fellow. He was of my size, but awkward, and he had nothing but strength. I threw him, and shaking him vigorously on all sides, I contrived to deprive him of his hump and false stomach. The nuns, who had never seen such a merry sight, clapped their hands. Everybody laughed loudly, and improving my opportunity I ran through the crowd and disappeared. I was in a perspiration, and the weather was cold. I threw myself into a gondola, and in order not to get chilled, I landed at the Ridotto. I had 2 hours to spare before going to the casino of Muran, and I longed to enjoy the astonishment of my beautiful nun when she saw M. Pierrot standing before her. I spent those 2 hours in playing at all the banks, winning, losing, and performing all sorts of antics with complete freedom, being satisfied that no one could recognize me, enjoying the present, bidding defiance to the future, and laughing at all those reasonable beings who exercise their reason to avoid the misfortunes which they fear, destroying at the same time the pleasure that they might enjoy. But 2 o'clock struck and gave me warning that love and Comus were calling me to bestow new delights upon me. With my pockets full of gold and silver I left the Ridotto, hurried to Muran, entered the sanctuary, and saw my divinity leaning against the mantelpiece. She wore her convent dress. I came near her by stealth in order to enjoy her surprise. I look at her, and I remain petrified, astounded. The person I see is not M M. It is C C, dressed as a nun, who, more astonished even than myself, does not utter one word or make a movement. I throw myself in an armchair in order to breathe and to recover from my surprise. The sight of C C had annihilated me, and my mind was as much stupefied as my body. I found myself in an inextricable maze. It is M M, I said to myself, who has played that trick upon me, but how has she contrived to know that I am the lover of C C? Has C C betrayed my secret? But if she has betrayed it, how could M M deprive herself of the pleasure of seeing me, and consent to her place being taken by her friend and rival? That cannot be a mark of kind compliance, for a woman never carries it to such an extreme. I see in it only a mark of contempt, a gratuitous insult. My self-love tried hard to imagine some reason likely to disprove the possibility of that contempt, but in vain. Absorbed in that dark discontent, I believed myself wantonly trifled with, deceived, despised, and I spent half an hour silent and gloomy, staring at C C, who scarcely dared to breathe, perplexed, confused, and not knowing in whose presence she was, for she could only know me as the Pierrot whom she had seen at the ball. Deeply in love with M M, and having come to the casino only for her, I did not feel disposed to accept the exchange, although I was very far from despising C C, whose charms were as great, at least, as those of M M. I loved her tenderly, I adored her, but at that moment it was not her whom I wanted, because at first her presence had struck me as a mystification. It seemed to me that if I celebrated the return of C C in an amorous manner, I would fail in what I owed to myself, and I thought that I was bound in honour not to lend myself to the imposition. Besides, without exactly realizing that feeling, I was not sorry to have it in my power to reproach M M with an indifference very strange in a woman in love, and I wanted to act in such a manner that she should not be able to say that she had procured me a pleasure. I must add that I suspected M M to be hiding in the secret closet, perhaps with her friend. I had to take a decision, for I could not pass the whole night in my costume of Pierrot, and without speaking. At first I thought of going away, the more so that both C C and her friend could not be certain that I and Pierrot were the same individual, but I soon abandoned the idea with horror, thinking of the deep sorrow which would fill the loving soul of C C if she ever heard I was the Pierrot. I almost fancied that she knew it already, and I shared the grief which she evidently would feel in that case. I had seduced her. I had given her the right to call me her husband. These thoughts broke my heart. If M M is in the closet, I said to myself, she will show herself in good time. With that idea I took off the gauze which covered my features. My lovely C C gave a deep sigh, and said, "I breathe again. It could not be anyone but you. My heart felt it. You seemed surprised when you saw me, dearest. Did you not know that I was waiting for you?" "I had not the faintest idea of it." "If you are angry, I regret it deeply, but I am innocent." "My adored friend, come to my arms, and never suppose that I can be angry with you. I am delighted to see you. You are always my dear wife, but I entreat you to clear up a cruel doubt, for you could never have betrayed my secret." "I? I would never have been guilty of such a thing, even if death had stared me in the face." "Then how did you come here? How did your friend contrive to discover everything? Not one but you could tell her that I am your husband. Laura, perhaps?" "No, Laura is faithful, dearest, and I cannot guess how it was." "But how could you be persuaded to assume that disguise and to come here? You can leave the convent, and you have never apprised me of that important circumstance." "Can you suppose that I would not have told you all about it, if I had ever left the convent even once? I came out of it 2 hours ago for the first time, and I was induced to take that step in the simplest and most natural manner. Tell me all about it, my love. I feel extremely curious." "I am glad of it, and I would conceal nothing from you. You know how dearly M M and I love each other. No intimacy could be more tender than ours. You can judge of it by what I told you in my letters. Well, 2 days ago, my dear friend begged the abbess and my aunt to allow me to sleep in her room in the place of the lay sister, who, having a very bad cold, had carried her cough to the infirmary. The permission was granted, and you cannot imagine our pleasure in seeing ourselves at liberty, for the first time, to sleep in the same bed. To day, shortly after you had left the parlour where you so much amused us, without our discovering that the delightful Pierrot was our friend, my dear M M retired to her room, and I followed her. The moment we were alone she told me that she wanted me to render her a service from which depended our happiness. I need not tell you how readily I answered that she had only to name it. Then she opened a drawer, and much to my surprise she dressed me in this costume. She was laughing, and I did the same without suspecting the end of the joke. When she saw me entirely metamorphosed into a nun, she told me that she was going to trust me with a great secret, but that she entertained no fear of my discretion. "Let me tell you, clearest friend," she said to me, "that I was on the point of going out of the convent, to return only to morrow morning. I have, however, just decided that you shall go instead. You have nothing to fear, and you do not require any instructions, because I know that you will meet with no difficulty. In an hour a lay sister will come here. I will speak a few words apart to her, and she will tell you to follow her. You will go out with her through the small gate and across the garden as far as the room leading out to the low shore. There you will get into the gondola, and say to the gondolier these words, 'To the casino.' You will reach it in 5 minutes. You will step out, and enter a small apartment, where you will find a good fire. You will be alone, and you will wait." "For whom?" I inquired. "For nobody. You need not know any more. You may only be certain that nothing unpleasant will happen to you. Trust me for that. You will sup at the casino, and sleep, if you like, without being disturbed. Do not ask any questions, for I cannot answer them. Such is my dear husband, the whole truth. Tell me now what I could do after that speech of my friend, and after she had received my promise to do whatever she wished. Do not distrust what I tell you, for my lips cannot utter a falsehood." I laughed, and not expecting anything else but an agreeable adventure, I followed the lay sister, and soon found myself here. After a tedious hour of expectation, Pierrot made his appearance. Be quite certain that the very moment I saw you my heart knew who it was, but a minute after I felt as if the lightning had struck me when I saw you step back, for I saw clearly enough that you did not expect to find me. Your gloomy silence frightened me, and I would never have dared to be the first in breaking it. The more so that, in spite of the feelings of my heart, I might have been mistaken. The dress of Pierrot might conceal some other man, but certainly no one that I could have seen in this place without horror. Recollect that for the last 8 months I have been deprived of the happiness of kissing you, and now that you must be certain of my innocence, allow me to congratulate you upon knowing this casino. You are happy, and I congratulate you with all my heart. M M is, after me, the only woman worthy of your love, the only one with whom I could consent to share it. I used to pity you, but I do so no longer, and your happiness makes me happy. Kiss me now." I should have been very ungrateful, I should even have been cruel, if I had not then folded in my arms, with the warmth of true love, the angel of goodness and beauty who was before me, thanks to the most wonderful effort of our friendship. After assuring her that I no longer entertained any doubt of her innocence, I told her that I thought the behaviour of her friend very ambiguous. I said that, notwithstanding the pleasure I felt in seeing her, the trick played upon me by her friend was a very bad one, that it could not do otherwise than displease me greatly, because it was an insult to me. "I am not of your opinion," replied C C Dear M M has evidently contrived somehow or other to discover that, before you were acquainted with her, you were my lover. She thought very likely that you still loved me, and she imagined, for I know her well, that she could not give us a greater proof of her love than by procuring us, without forewarning us, that which two lovers fond of each other must wish for so ardently. She wished to make us happy, and I cannot be angry with her for it. You are right to think so, dearest, but my position is very different from yours. You have not another lover, you could not have another, but I, being free and unable to see you, have not found it possible to resist the charms of M M. I love her madly, she knows it, and, intelligent as she is, she must have meant to show her contempt for me by doing what she has done. I candidly confess that I feel hurt in the highest degree. If she loved me as I love her, she never could have sent you here instead of coming herself." "I do not think so, my beloved friend. Her soul is as noble as her heart is generous, and just in the same manner that I am not sorry to know that you love one another and that you make each other happy, as this beautiful casino proves to me. She does not regret our love, and she is, on the contrary, delighted to shew us that she approves of it. Most likely she meant to prove that she loved you for your own sake, that your happiness makes her happy, and that she is not jealous of her best friend being her rival. To convince you that you ought not to be angry with her for having discovered our secret, she proves, by sending me here in her place, that she is pleased to see your heart divided between her and me. You know very well that she loves me, and that I am often either her wife or her husband, and as you do not object to my being your rival and making her often as happy as I can, she does not want you either to suppose that her love is like hatred, for the love of a jealous heart is very much like it. You plead the cause of your friend with the eloquence of an angel, but, dear little wife, you do not see the affair in its proper light. You have intelligence and a pure soul, but you have not my experience. M M's love for me has been nothing but a passing fancy, and she knows that I am not such an idiot as to be deceived by all this affair. I am miserable, and it is her doing. Then I should be right if I complained of her also, because she makes me feel that she is the mistress of my lover, and she shews me that, after seducing him from me, she gives him back to me without difficulty. Then she wishes me to understand that she despises also my tender affection for her, since she places me in a position to shew that affection for another person. Now, dearest, you speak without reason, for the relations between you two are of an entirely different nature. Your mutual love is nothing but trifling nonsense, mere illusion of the senses. The pleasures which you enjoy together are not exclusive. To become jealous of one another, it would be necessary that one of you two should feel a similar affection for another woman, but M M could no more be angry at your having a lover than you could be so yourself if she had one, provided, however, that the lover should not belong to the other. But that is precisely our case, and you are mistaken. We are not angry at your loving us both equally. Have I not written to you that I would most willingly give you my place near M M? Then you must believe that I despise you likewise. My darling, that wish of yours to give me up your place, when you did not know that I was happy with M M, arose from your friendship rather than from your love, and for the present I must be glad to see that your friendship is stronger than your love, but I have every reason to be sorry when M M feels the same. I love her without any possibility of marrying her. Do you understand me, dearest? As for you, knowing that you must be my wife, I am certain of our love, which practice will animate with new life. It is not the same with M M. That love cannot spring up again into existence. Is it not humiliating for me to have inspired her with nothing but a passing fancy? I understand your adoration for her very well. She has initiated you into all her mysteries, and you owe her eternal friendship and everlasting gratitude." It was midnight, and we went on wasting our time in this desultory conversation, when the prudent and careful servant brought us an excellent supper. I could not touch anything, my heart was too full, but my dear little wife supped with a good appetite. I could not help laughing when I saw a salad of whites of eggs, and C C thought it extraordinary because all the yolks had been removed. In her innocence she could not understand the intention of the person who had ordered the supper. As I looked at her I was compelled to acknowledge that she had improved in beauty. In fact, C C was remarkably beautiful, yet I remained cold by her side. I have always thought that there is no merit in being faithful to the person we truly love. 2 hours before daylight we resumed our seats near the fire, and C C, seeing how dull I was delicately attentive to me. She attempted no allurement, all her movements wore the stamp of the most decent reserve, and her conversation, tender in its expressions and perfectly easy, never conveyed the shadow of a reproach for my coolness. Towards the end of our long conversation she asked me what she should say to her friend on her return to the convent. My dear M M expects to see me full of joy and gratitude for the generous present she thought she was making me by giving me this night. But what shall I tell her? The whole truth. Do not keep from her a single word of our conversation as far as your memory will serve you, and tell her especially that she has made me miserable for a long time. No, for I should cause her too great a sorrow. She loves you dearly, and cherishes the locket which contains your likeness. I mean, on the contrary, to do all I can to bring peace between you two, and I must succeed before long, because my friend is not guilty of any wrong, and you only feel some spite, although with no cause. I will send you my letter by Laura, unless you promise me to go and fetch it yourself at her house. Your letters will always be dear to me, but, mark my words, M M will not enter into any explanation. She will believe you in everything, except in one. I suppose you mean our passing a whole night together as innocently as if we were brother and sister. If she knows you as well as I do, she will indeed think it most wonderful. In that case you may tell her the contrary if you like. "Nothing of the sort. I hate falsehoods, and I will certainly never utter one in such a case as this. It would be very wrong. I do not love you less on that account, my darling, although during this long night you have not condescended to give me the slightest proof of your love. Believe me, dearest, I am sick from unhappiness. I love you with my whole soul, but I am in such a situation that... What! You are weeping, my love? Oh, I entreat you spare my heart. I am so sorry to have told you such a thing, but I can assure you I never meant to make you unhappy. I am sure that in a quarter of an hour M M will be crying likewise." The alarm struck, and having no longer any hope of seeing M M come to justify herself, I kissed C C. I gave her the key of the casino, requesting her to return it for me to M M, and my young friend having gone back to the convent, I put on my mask and left the casino. Chapter 20. Recording by Joelle Peebles.